Motherfucker, we're back tonight, motherfucker.
We are live. I love how the second we go live, Jerry's already cursing.
I love it.
We're live tonight. Fuck you, Super League. That's how we're starting this tonight. Fuck you, Super League. You
I've
bullshit.
sold out to the Super League. Hello and welcome into another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast, connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. We have another jam-packed panel. Alex Donno alongside my co-host, as always, Jerry Mancini. We have Gianni, not Super League, Delli, Colli. We've got a fellow Super League member, Daniel Lucci, Juventino in the house. And we have our good pal, Nando Magnus, back with us. And hey, we're definitely, we'll get into some Serie A stuff as well. But we wanted to really focus on the topic that is, it's really thrown Calcio fans and world football fans for an absolute fucking loop over the past 48 hours. Most people are very angry. Some people are just a little bit angry. Some people are indifferent. I'm yet to meet too many people who are like thrilled with this Super League idea. I have a few thoughts on it before we go around the table. I can, just to outline some of the reasons why people are upset, I can totally understand all of it. This Super League, it's going to widen, in theory, it's going to widen the wealth gap between some of the richest clubs in the world with the less rich clubs. So, you've got fear of even more competitive imbalance, right? Because there's already, in most of these top leagues, there's a pretty big difference between the haves and the have-nots. So this, all the revenue and all the money these teams are getting for joining Super League would certainly, in theory, make things even less competitive and widen that wealth gap. The Super League itself, guys, regardless of whatever sanctions may come out of this from UEFA and from the domestic leagues, and we'll talk about that, the Super League itself is going to feel less competitive than traditional Champions League, since most of the teams in it, 15 out of the 20, according to the proposal, have guaranteed spots. So there's no merit. You don't have to earn your spot. You don't have to finish top four. It's not a merit-based system like Champions League. So it's going to feel less competitive. And then there's also the factor of when you have all the regular squads that are in it year after year, meetings between teams like, let's say Chelsea and Real Madrid, teams that don't face each other on a regular basis are going to feel less special when they happen multiple times every year. And, and you talk about, not only the competitive balance within the Super League, but then that takes something away from the leagues themselves, guys. Even if at the end of the day, the teams that are forming the Super League are allowed to stay in their domestic leagues. And I do think that's going to happen. And I'll explain why in a minute. But in the domestic leagues, you won't have exciting races for top four, because even if there's still a Champions League, it's going to feel less important, and a lot of the top teams will be in Super League anyway. Biggest point here, guys, is despite all of these grievances, despite all of, football Twitter, being outraged by this, this doesn't surprise me one bit. And you heard, some of the comments that Florentino Perez, the president of Real Madrid, who's president now of Super League, made today. None of this really surprises me. I know that these big clubs, guys, have been annoyed for years about UEFA's lack of transparency. And I do think that there are big issues at UEFA, big issues at FIFA. That doesn't necessarily mean two wrongs make a right, but there are big problems with UEFA. I mean, we don't know how much revenue they're pocketing for themselves. Nobody knows for sure. As Florentino Perez pointed out tonight, they don't even publish the salaries of their executives. So we have really no idea exactly how corrupt these guys are. And, a lot of these bigger clubs, I know that you look at them as being some of the richest clubs in the world, but I feel that the pandemic really accelerated this, that Super League, I know it's been talked about for years, but it may not have actually come to a head today or yesterday, I should say, if not for the fact that so many of these clubs have lost a ton of revenue over the past year due to COVID. And this Super League, it's like a cheat code for printing money. It's like an ATM. I mean, you think about Barcelona, their balance sheet is upside down. Juventus have debt problems. Obviously, Inter's debt is very well publicized. And so right off the bat, even for joining this league, before you add in, TV revenues and all that, just for joining the league, teams are going to be handed, each team will be handed 425 million euros just for joining. And I use, Inter for an example. They're about 300 million in debt. So it's like you wave a magic wand with this Super League stuff. It's like the debt just completely disappears. And another thing for why I'm sure some clubs feel like they're backed into a corner to join this. It's hard for me to speak for what's going on in England because most of their clubs have their own stadiums and revenue streams, but that's been a lot tougher in Italy. Now, Juventus, they have their stadium, and I know Gianni can relate with the struggle because, Roma, they've been trying to get their own stadium forever, and the freaking bureaucracy of the Italian government is impossible. And, I know Inter and Milan have been trying to get their stadium built for new revenue. It's not been approved yet in Milano. So it's like, hey, they're holding, our governments are holding revenue back from us. We want to be able to join a Super League and create revenue. So bottom line for me, guys, I don't like it. I understand why people are complaining about it, but I'm not surprised by it because these big clubs have found a way to circumvent UEFA and say we can make a ton of money that we can't make otherwise. So I want to open up the forum, guys. Let me start with the other guy on the panel whose team is in this thing. And, the president of Juventus was instrumental in setting this up. He's one of the vice presidents of the Super League. I mean, Lucci, what are your thoughts on this? Are you surprised by it? And do you like it?
Yeah, Alex, I'm very much with you on this. I'm not totally surprised as they've been talking about it for the past little while. And, like you mentioned, Juve and Barca are in some serious debt, which wasn't going to, subside, by just playing in Champions League or just winning Serie A. So the pandemic has definitely played a role in maybe speeding up this process a little bit. And like you said, it's kind of hard to turn down, 400 million euros or whatever it is, to join a league and you can be one of the founding members and one of the founding teams along with the co-chair. So I'm interested to see how this actually plays out. I still don't know if I completely believe it's actually going to happen. Yeah, I'm obviously going to watch it. I'm not going to say I'm not going to watch it. I don't believe in it, whatever. Like I know some fans are on one side of the spectrum compared to, you're going to follow your team no matter what. That's kind of where I stand. I not necessarily agree with it, but I'm going to support my team. I'm going to watch wherever they play. Obviously, you want to watch them play against some of the top European competition. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, I already promised Jerry that if the Super League backfires, I'm going to become a Lazio supporter. So you got that going for you, my friend. Jerry, let me bring you in on this. You, my friend, have been very active on social media. I saw a lot of photos with you putting middle fingers up in the air when discussing Super League today. So what are your thoughts, Jerry?
I'm with Lucci until as much as I'm very active, I like to be. I know a lot of people like to hear what I think. Or some, not a lot, some maybe, but I do agree with Lucci. Lucci said it the right way. Until it happens, it happens. Like he's right. Nothing has been set in motion. Apparently, there's contracts already been signed. You can't back out of it. This team wants to join. That team doesn't want to join. You know what? I've been talking, and my wife has been playing soccer since she was young, okay? And she said better points than I did, actually. And she said it perfect. Do you want to watch the same fucking team play 12 times a year? Like, seriously. Liverpool versus Madrid every 2 weeks. Like, it's going to – and what are you playing for?
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't feel special anymore.
The whole point of Serie A is not just to win a Scudetto, but it's also to, like – You want to basically go to the Champions League. So how do you go to the Champions League? Well, you got to win top 4 spot. There's significance to winning the league. Like I was watching a show today with Carlo Garganese and forgot what his name. I think it was a soccer player, Kevin something. I forgot what it was. But he kept on saying, when you're the player, you have a passion to win. You win at all costs. You want to play against the best teams. Fine, you're playing against the best teams. But what are you playing for when it's just 12 teams in the league? Like, really?
Well, I mean, so supposedly there's going to be 20. I mean, there's 12 permanent members who have signed up. They say that there are 3 more that are either being recruited or maybe they're, they don't want to, they want a low key kind of high. So it's like, the thing is, the PSG thing, it sounds a little shady to me, right? Because I have a hard time believing PSG don't want to be a part of it, right? I can believe that Bayern wouldn't want to be a part of it, because something like, I respect how well that club is run, and Bundesliga clubs are partly owned by supporters anyway, so they might be a little bit more legitimate in their claims that they don't want to be part of it. PSG, I think that they're being snakes. Like, I think PSG want to make sure that they get their champions, if they win Champions League, or if maybe they win it by disqualification, because the other three teams would be maybe yanked out. So I think PSG wants to win their Champions League and then say, fuck you, I'm going to Super League.
Hold on. I think PSG is in a position where they're financially stable and they're not backed up. They're not against a wall where they need to join this league. Whereas the rest of these clubs are really in a financial situation, like you guys were just saying before. And if the pandemic never happened, would the Super League be happening right now? Because
I doubt it.
I don't think so. I think for the first time, these big clubs don't know how to run their clubs. They're confused because they're so good at spending, but they're not good at being really cost efficient. Teams like Napoli and Lazio and Serie A, seriously, and I'm just picking them for example. They know how to budget their books and keep everything afloat and not go into massive debt. Whereas Juventus, Inter, Milan, Barcelona, Madrid, they are so used to spending and living on debt. Now all of a sudden they're not able to do this anymore. They have to adapt to a new world where they're no longer the elite who used to spend so much in past years. It's a new accommodation to them where, okay, all of a sudden we're not making money on ticket sales. We don't have fans coming to the games. There's so many factors that have hurt their club, and they don't know how to offset such high wages and everything else that's gone with their club. So now they're in a difficult situation. All of a sudden, you got this fucking Super League comes along. Let's strangle the elite teams and make them into an elite club, because we can pour that money back into their club and fix it. So hey, we'll pull in 450 billion, whatever the frick number it is, and we'll share it evenly. And you guys are all back to where you were 5 years ago, greedy motherfuckers who basically can outbid everybody. And we'll just make it amongst us, because we know that we have all the fans personally. But another thing is, I don't even think the fans are going to show up for this, especially the ones in the UK.
And here's, let me interject one quick point, and then I want to bring Nando and Gianni on it. I will say that this Super League, I think, is going to cater more to casual fans than ultras. Like, hardcore fans, to me, people like all five of us, we're going to watch our fucking team no matter who they're playing against. I'm playing against Crotone, great, I'm going to watch it. But the majority of the world are going to specifically pick and choose, like, oh, hey, I haven't watched Real Madrid all year, but El Clasico is this weekend, so I'm going to turn on the game. Oh, I haven't watched Juventus all year, but it's the Derby d'Italia this week, so I'm going to watch that, right? So they're catering to the casual fans, because if people like us and hardcore ultras may be pissed off, but the casual fan is going to see, oh my God, Super League game on this weekend, and I've got Liverpool versus Barcelona for the second time in a month. This is fantastic. I'm going to watch it. I think that they are really catering this more to the casual fan than they are to the hardcore football fan. Nando, you've been looking like you're itching to make a point, my friend. What do you got?
Oh man, where do I start with this morally bankrupted league? Florentino Perez. Isn't this like the most corrupted motherfucker on the planet? He literally ruined the game 20 years ago with this stupid fucking Galacticos era by literally going into Barcelona and handpicking. Actually, no, not handpicking. Literally plucking away Luis Figo from Barcelona and bringing him to Real Madrid for then a world record fee of, I think it was like 80 million euros. I don't remember. So like, this is like the pot calling the kettle black with this guy.
His net worth is 2.2 billion.
Fuck Perez. Wow. Fuck Perez, and honestly, that guy shouldn't be mouthing out.
Everything enough you need to know, man. 2.2 billion. Okay, guys.
He shouldn't be mouthing out about franchise, about money and finances. This guy is destroyed. Mind you, football was already destroyed at one point, but he literally tipped it over the edge with his.
He made it an arms race.
Yeah, I remember his statement back in 2004. He's like, "We're gonna build a team of Zidanes and Pavons." So just to give you some context, Zidane was a Galactico and Francisco Pavon was a Madrid youth player who didn't amount to anything. He kind of sucked. So let's talk here. How do I feel about this? Obviously, I don't like it. I really like what Sevilla came out and said today, and They got it right on the nose. I'm just going to read it. They go, furthermore, the creation of the Super League would only serve to satisfy the selfish interests that look to enrich the founder clubs, who already have far larger budgets than the rest of the world football. This will impoverish football in general and the teams outside of the Super League. At the same time, it would be a severe blow to the society and would punish the vast majority of real football fans who will be left without the true essence of our sport, the excitement of watching their team and seeing them compete for their goals. I mean, I love Sevilla from top to bottom. Like, that is one of my favorite teams, the way they're structured, the way they build.
I think they're pissed because they weren't invited.
You know what? Let's be honest. Sevilla merit to be there, but more so than Tottenham. Why the fuck is Milan there? Honestly, the biggest has-been trophy.
Here's the thing. Like, here's what this tells me. They didn't pick clubs really based on recent performances. I think they just picked clubs who want to be a part of it, and B, clubs with big fan bases from big markets. Because I could argue, what the fuck are Tottenham and Arsenal doing in there?
Yeah,
but they're in London, right? I mean, honestly, huge market.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, aren't Tottenham and Arsenal fans already tired of sucking in their own respective leagues? Same thing with Milan. Like, honestly, they can't. Like, this is the first time these Milan cracked top 4 in how long, and they're gonna go to another league and suck even more. But let's be honest. Like, Arsenal, Milan, Tottenham, they're not going to do anything in this league. It's just it's bullshit. It's such a plastic garbage league, just like Sevilla said, to enrich these founder clubs. And you know what? Like, it serves no purpose. Like Jerry said, what's the point of this? Like, what is the point of this? What's the point of the domestic leagues? Yeah, money. What's the point of the domestic leagues when you qualify for the Champions League? That's really literally a tournament where all the best teams in the world. Like we discussed earlier today, I think the Champions League is a little too big, but we have to expand it. But
they're going to make it bigger,
yeah, we're talking about the best clubs in European football competing because out of their own merit. And the Super League is based off whatever fan bases. Like, like I get it. It makes sense financially, but football is much more than just money. It's tradition. It really bothers me to my core. Like, I don't like it at all. Like, even if Lazio were involved, they probably would have been involved if this was 20 years ago, let's be honest, but I still wouldn't like it. Like, there's something about, like, let's be honest here, like, none of our teams, except Lucci, but like none of our teams have won a championship in so long, but we get the pleasure watching our teams finish top 4. It gives us something to look forward to.
Hey, Napoli has the Coppa Italia last year. Let us enjoy that, okay?
There we go.
I'm not even a Chelsea fan anymore. I will not support them if they choose to go into the Super League. I refuse to support that. I'll tell you that right now. That's on the record. Like, I don't care if I have apparel. I don't care if I've gone to games. I don't care all that stuff, man.
You think Lotito would turn down this money to join?
He already said he wouldn't join.
Really?
You believe that?
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either.
I don't believe it. And I'll be the non-bias here, and I'll say right now that if Lotito was offered for billions of dollars, whatever the agreement is, you telling me he wouldn't take that money? That guy's in debt right now. He's not in debt, but he's still paying off the debt from previous owner. And like, I just think that Lotito's a snake. He's a big snake, and we know how he is. He would jump if today Florentino Perez says he want to join the Super League. We'll give you this, and that. He's signing on the dot, man. He is jumping. He's jumping the ship.
Jerry, there's something else you said there about how, and obviously Lazio is your primary club, but you do also support Chelsea, and you mentioned that you don't want to support them after this. I got to speak up, and I want. I do want to bring in Gianni as well, but let me just speak up real quick because listen, you guys know I'm an Interista, and even if I'm not completely happy about this, like just because I can't stop supporting my club. Like I've been in this my entire life, and it's like I can be pissed off at a situation. I can understand, the reality of this is just the way the sport is going. I wish I could do something to fight it. I mean, I don't know if me stopping supporting my club would make any difference, but I just can't do it, man. I'm in too deep, and I don't have to be thrilled with it, but at the same time, it's like there's really nothing I can do. I'm going to keep supporting Inter no matter what. Gianni, what do you think about all this, man?
Well, what the Spoffo said is exactly what my thought is, and what to touch upon what Nando said. If there's positions locked for these teams and they can be mediocre and there's no danger of relegation, that's completely unfair. if you're constantly getting 300 million per year and you're still competing in the domestic league, that's unfair to the 17 other teams in Italy, for example. How the hell do you expect teams like, okay, let's just put the other three, Napoli, Roma, and Lazio. Like, who cares about the teams that I support? Like, how do you expect the other three to even have a chance to compete for a league title when they're probably getting what in profits, maybe 40, 50 million euros a year, if I'm being generous, whereas these other clubs just get 300 million euros just for existing. It's not right. It's not what sport is. Sport is about rewarding the team that was the better team in that game. Like, at the end of the day, you watch a game, what the winner is the better team versus the loser, right? That's what the point of competition is. This eliminates competition. It doesn't exist. Oh yeah, sure, you have 5 spots available for whatever team, but it doesn't matter. These 15 teams are still locked. Now, if you tell me this is a tactic to go against Champions League where these are just the starter teams, but every team's at risk of not qualifying for it, then maybe I'll lean towards it. But if you're telling me, oh no, these 15 teams, they can be crappy in their domestic leagues, they don't care. Like, you can play your farm teams or your prospects every game and finish last in the league, but come Super League, you'll pay all your best players. That's not right. It's not right. It feels like as if if you're a fan of the other teams, you don't matter. In the eyes of them, you don't matter. I know it's the truth. You don't technically matter at the end of the day, but that's just what it screams to me. It's like, okay, the years and years and years of that your club spent just establishing their history, all the league titles, all the Champions League trophies, or whatever names they were in the past, all like these hundreds of years of actually earning these rewards. In my eyes, you're just spitting on it.
Yeah.
In my eyes, you're spitting on it because you're just telling the league where you earn these titles from. Oh, you guys, you know what? I'm not making enough money here. I'll go make more money here because it's free. Oh, I'll give you guys a bit, but I'm going to go to the guys that are giving me more money. I'm going to give my attention to them. I'm sorry. That's just wrong.
I'm not saying I disagree with you, Johnny.
I agree with you.
You make some great points. The thing is, when you're comparing tradition and history of calcio and football and everything, it's so much different now. These 12 teams, these 15 teams, 20 teams, whatever it ends up getting to, it's all about business. It's all about the money coming in. Because these guys can't afford to keep spending hundreds of millions of dollars to buy players, to buy Ronaldo, to buy Barella, to buy all these guys. They need to have these extra funds coming in, or else
I understand.
Soon enough you're gonna be all oil owned like PSG and Man City.
But I understand that.
So you know what? Like we see in Italian, arrangiati. Too bad you spent like idiots. You
perfect.
Exactly. Just
but
to
if there's a way to
1
get
minute,
out of
guys.
that, why not do it?
Well, and also the thing is, okay, obviously the clubs that are in this, most of them, I mean, again, it seems to me like the English clubs are in a lot better shape because their fucking TV deal is massive, but apparently they need the handouts as well. But I know the Italian teams and the Spanish teams probably need this even more badly. And listen, it's easy to say, oh, well, look, why were you spending all this money and building up this debt? But nobody could predict the pandemic. Like, okay, right. Yeah, I mean, clubs like Barcelona and Real Madrid and Juventus, they spend a ton of money, they take on debt because you're counting on having, in some of their cases, 80,000 people in your stadium, or in Juve's case, like 38,000 people, but they're paying ticket prices through the roof. And then you can't imagine a day when that revenue disappears for 13 months just out of the blue. So, yeah, these teams were taking on debt, spending a lot more money, but that's their business model, and you cannot predict losing all that revenue in the snap of a finger. There was no way for them to predict that.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone's lost money, and not only them. But
the ones who spend more, who have higher budgets, and obviously, everyone's lost money. But the teams that take on the most debt lose the most because they're the ones who were spending more before this started. And listen, we can praise, teams like Napoli and Lazio are very fiscally responsible. They have a different business model from teams like Barcelona and Juventus. Like those teams don't typically spend high wages and spend 80, 90 million transfer fees on players. The teams that did that take on more debt and they get in bigger trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Well, their problem. Too bad. Just like like pandemics happen.
Their problem, and now they're fixing it. Okay, like they've come up with a solution. We just don't like the solution.
They came up with a solution, but like literally the whole footballing world is kind of speaking out against it. And just a quote. There was a quote from Lotito, Jerry, back in 2019 of there was chatter of the Super League, and he said it. Well, it's in Italian. It's like per la Superlega c'è una filosofia legata solo al business che non rappresenta la passione dei tifosi. So that means he spoke against it. So Lotito's not really for it. Obviously, I know it's from 2019, but I really don't see him changing that type of philosophy because I don't want to delve too much on Lazio, but he was in the shits with the fans at the beginning. So, I mean, he's kind of warmed up to them. So I do see a sort of genuine tone to this, and like we'll see what he says in a few days. But I don't think he's going to deviate much from that statement.
So something I want to
hold on.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Here's the biggest thing, okay? I think it's this is a slap in the face to all the players too, because
I feel bad for the players because the players on these 12 teams are now getting shit on, and they had nothing to do with this. They had nothing to do with this decision.
Not even just them, just all leagues, like all players around, not being informed, like not having an idea what was coming up. Like you would think that this would be communicated between team and players, and then communicated to the leagues. This was done behind their backs. So think about what the players feel like. They kind of feel disrespected if they live in a old school tradition where they believe in hard work. Think about what they had to earn to get to what they were at, or they're at now. Like a guy like Messi, who was born with nothing, and then the team came, gave him what they helped him, and he succeeded on his own as well, going through the rankings and being able to achieve trophies and success and everything. And that's just one guy. There's so many players that have gone through tradition, like trying to win games and stuff like that. Now all of a sudden, what does it mean to them? Like, I don't know. I think it's a bad taste for players, and it makes them think, do I really want to join a league like this? What's going on? Well, how can we trust the owners if this shit's happening behind our backs? And no one knows how they really feel. Certain players have spoken out vocally on Twitter.
Gary
Neville, but we don't know the vast majority of how players feel. And would they really support it? Like, I know, and my wife knows how much I've been looking at this, and she's really like, I reference her because she understands a lot too, and she said a good point. What about if a player wants to opt out of his contract now? That's a great point. She said.
Great point.
She's like, what about if I want to opt out of my contract and I don't support the notion of a Super League? What do I do now?
Yeah,
you can. I'm sure their contracts has a clause where they're able to break it and then say we're out. We're gonna.
I doubt it.
They can break it because they better pay the money.
Have to pay, yeah.
Do you really think a guy like Griezmann getting 20 million euros a year at Barcelona is going to say I'm opting out? No chance.
Exactly. That's another thing. You think these players really care though, as long as they're getting paid?
I think they care for the moral aspect of it. Because let's remember, a lot of these guys grew up. Listen,
I think it depends on the player, to be honest.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yes, granted, but like a lot of these guys are fans growing up. Let's be honest. Like if you're not a fan of the sport, you don't play. A lot of them grew up supporting a team, a local club, whether it's I love Lazio. Gianni is confused about two teams, but I still love him. Alex is a big Interista. Jerry is a Laziale like myself, and muscle man Lucci is Juventino. So we all grew up with a specific. We got attached to these teams, whether if it was from a family member, a nonno, a cousin, an uncle. So we grew. Why did they get attached to that team? Again, tradition. There's a certain tradition involved with these teams, and there's a certain tradition in watching them. Like I've been to several Lazio games in my life. Like I love the atmosphere there. I get a specific type of special nostalgia when I'm at the stadium, and that's what it is being a fan. And like a lot of these players know that. But unfortunately, a lot of their future is tied to these morally bankrupted clubs. So maybe they'll say a little thing or two here and there, but at the end of the day, they're not going to drop their millions upon millions of euros per year. You know what I mean?
If I may just make two quick points to add to that. So let's just say in a hypothetical scenario, it gets locked where if you participate in the Super League, you're not allowed to participate in UEFA or FIFA competitions involving international teams. Let's just say in a hypothetical world.
Okay.
I think players that are from nations that have realistic chances of winning an international comp like France, Italy, Spain, Germany, whatever. Well, mind you, there's no German teams involved, but I think because they grow up. I don't know about you guys, but when I used to play soccer as a kid, I used to imagine myself lifting the World Cup trophy for Italy type of thing. Even though,
did you do it in FIFA?
Yes, I did many times.
Okay, good. Congratulations.
FIFA World Cup was
Semis
sick.
in FIFA. I fucking suck at that game.
Yeah, but like you don't. Let's be realistic. You only learn about Champions League or the value of what a Champions League trophy is when you become maybe a young adult or a teenager. You know, so a lot of these people grow up wanting to win an international trophy. If they're from these countries, I think maybe at a young age or maybe in their prime, they might not sign for these leagues, or they might want to opt out from these leagues because like if you can't play in a national team, then what's the point of being a player? Yeah, money talks at the end of the day. I get that. But for some players, especially in these nations, I think they would probably just be like, nah, you know what? Maybe at the end of my career, when I've made a name for myself, then I'll get an easy 50 million euro contract, whatever the hell it is, because money is no longer an object in this league. I'll go for it, you know? And okay, maybe if you have like a player like Ronaldo playing there, maybe a young kid who idolized them at 18, 19 years old, who's like just breaking into the league, might sign for a Super League just to have that opportunity to play with Ronaldo at the end of his career. But then after that, it'll be like, okay, well, he's retired. There's no point in me. I only came here for him, so I'll leave. I'm just throwing examples here. And the second thing I want to make is that, like what Lucci said, it really depends on the player, and I have to agree with him there, because I'll use Insigne as an example. Insigne, let's say, for example, the Super League happens, and Insigne gets like an offer of like 20 million euros a year to go play for, I don't know, Juve or Milan or Inter, let's just say. That guy's not going to accept it, even though, like, yeah, money talks. I don't know. The guy
but he would accept Napoli if they join the Super League. He would stay with them because he loves that team so much.
He would stay with Napoli if they join the Super League. I won't disagree with that. But Napoli apparently is not important enough to join the Super League, even though they won one more European title than a couple of teams in there. You know, but what I'm trying to say is that
Tottenham?
Probably, yeah.
Tottenham.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Turn down 20 million euros, Gianni. That's big. That's tough.
But Nando, think about this. You grew up
I don't know about that, Gianni. We're not talking about like 1 or 2 million euros extra on top of his going.
I know, but think about this. You grew up in Napoli. You're playing for the hometown team. You are the hometown hero. If you accept this offer, especially you know how the Napolitans are, you're going to get lynched the moment you come back to the city.
So they
robbed their players at gunpoint in that city.
He moves the body instead. It's right. It's just on the other side. It's fine.
The guy can't imagine not being able to show your face in your own home city ever again, because people are crazy there. Some people
they are, but you know the beauty about that, people forget. It's okay. It's okay. Listen,
so if Barca or Real came and offered him that kind of money, you think he'd turn it down?
I think
of course he wouldn't.
That's what I'm like. Maybe another Serie A team or another Italian team, I get that. But if Man City or Barca or Real came and offered him that, I think that's kind of hard to turn down.
I don't know. It's the hometown team. It's his hometown team that he idolized watching growing up.
I get it.
Can we just agree that no team in the world is going to give him that kind of money? Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, obviously speaking. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that big money is no longer an object, and I'm saying they're going to throw offers at these players. And I think it does depend on a case by case. I'm just using a player like Insigne because he's a hometown player playing for the hometown team.
Do you guys think Italy would be okay with the players out of the this Euro Super League?
Hold on that for a second. Let me go around the table on that topic, and Nando, I'll start with you, okay? Because to me, it sounds like these clubs have already gone so far that maybe one of the only things that would stop it would be legislation. Like we had one of our commenters said that they had like an emergency session of Parliament about it in England. So, I mean, if it's like an act of God or government stopping it, maybe that. Or maybe they see the public opinion is so against it, they decide it's not even worth pissing this many people off. I don't know. But one thing, I know that there's been a threat from UEFA and FIFA on how they want to stop this. And I want to get you guys' take on whether you believe that this could actually happen, because I have a theory, okay? When you hear about, UEFA basically encouraging these domestic leagues to say we're going to ban, the teams that are breaking off for the Super League, 6 English clubs, 3 Italian, 3 Spanish. We're going to ban them from competing in their domestic leagues. And FIFA talking about banning players on those teams from international tournaments like the Euros, like the World Cup next year. Personally, I think it's an empty threat. I think it's a very powerful threat to make, just to even throw it out there like, hey, we're trying to scare them away from forming this league. But the reason why I think it's an empty threat is at the end of the day, if Serie A were to permanently ban 3 of their largest clubs, I mean, when it comes to the media market and the revenues, the 3 largest clubs, if Serie A were to actually decide, you know what, we're banning Juventus and Inter and Milan from ever competing again, at the end of the day, Serie A is hurting Serie A more than they're hurting those clubs, right? Because this is a league, let's not forget, because it goes beyond ticket sales and the games being entertaining, because I do think you could still have an entertaining league without those teams. But you're talking about TV deals all over the world that get negotiated every couple of years. And you're putting yourself in a position of weakness. If you're Lega Serie A and you're saying, hey, by the way, in a couple of years, we need to renegotiate our United States TV deal and our Italian TV deal and our Canadian TV deal with the Zone and our German TV deal, then you're putting yourself in a position of weakness if you're trying to negotiate these deals without having 3 of the biggest clubs in the league. And then when it comes to the national team standpoint, do you really think FIFA wants to put on a World Cup with, no players from these 6 Premier League clubs, no players from Real Madrid and Barcelona, no players from Juventus? I mean, it sounds to me like it's a powerful threat, but it's an empty threat, because at the end of the day, again, the World Cup is another thing that depends on ratings and mass viewership all over the world. I don't think they really want to hurt themselves as badly. What do you think, Nando?
That's a deep question with many layers around that, Alex, but I'll try to answer this as objective as I can. I like the idea in principle. Like they'll tell the players, fuck. Actually, they'll say the ball's in your court to the players. You decide. Mm-hmm. I think at the end of the day, my personal opinion is I think they'll negotiate some sort of new Champions League deal between the clubs and UEFA. But I support that notion by FIFA. You know what? Fuck it. People are still going to watch the World Cup. You're telling me that, I don't know, when Senegal or these small nations qualify for, I know it's a small example. You're telling me the fans from these smaller nations won't watch? Of course they're going to watch. The casual supporter is going to watch the World Cup. The World Cup is much more than a football tournament. It's much more than a bunch of 22 players on the pitch kicking the ball into a net. It's a tradition, back to the essence of the sport. We live in Montreal here. I'm pretty sure it's the same in Toronto for Dan and Jerry. Like, yeah, like when Italy plays, we go to the local bar. We watch it with friends. Like it's camaraderie. It's getting together, supporting your heritage. Like you watched it with your nonni, you watched it with your cugini, you watched it with everyone. So
I don't watch the game with nobody. Fuck
yeah,
that, man.
But you know what I mean, Jerry. I like watching games alone too. I stopped watching games after Euro 2008 with friends and family, but I'm just saying in general. But like a lot of
we can't get together to watch the game. What is this? I was hoping to do something like that.
Okay, this guy calling me out on live stream. Yes, but you know what I mean. There's much more to it than just watching the players. Yes, the players are a big aspect. I'm not discounting that, but people watch the World Cup, the Euro Cup, for much more than just a regular couch show or a football tournament. That's my take. At the end of the day, it's probably an empty threat because people do want to watch Ronaldo. They do want to watch Messi. They do want to watch
Neymar's a PSG.
Griezmann.
That's what they want to say.
Yeah, so that's my opinion. Like, I just hope they come to some sort of agreement and just be like, you know what, guys, we're gonna pump more money into the Champions League. Fuck the Europa League. Let's make one big fucking tournament. Like,
and I'm with you on that. I'm with you. And Lucci, I want to get your take because I think you and I both have the same theory that if maybe what could stop the Super League would be UEFA agrees to some serious reforms and to cough up some more revenue. What do you think? And do you think these leagues would carry out the threat of dropping these teams?
Yeah, so to start on that, I think then coming to some sort of agreement would only benefit, of course, the 12, 15 teams that are willing to go to Super League. But that's the only way you're going to get, if this is legit, that's the only way you're going to get them to stay. So that's something UEFA is going to have to figure out. And hopefully they do come to some sort of agreement. I know it's probably not the way UEFA wanted it to go down, but sometimes you need to put, you need to get your back against the wall. And this is how you're going to make things happen, right? At the end of the day, these owners are businessmen. They want to, they want their money back on their investment. They want as much money back as they can get to reinvest in the business, into the team, into whatever. But I do think, like you said, Alex, it's a big threat to threaten players to not play for their national team. Can they actually, I can't see them actually doing that though. To me, it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like it's an actual possibility, because you're going to miss out on hundreds of top players around the world, around Europe. It just doesn't make sense. Yes, Nando said you're still going to watch because it's tradition and this and that, but you might not get that, the odd fan that's going to watch, the World Cup's on, but, Ronaldo's not playing, Messi's not playing. What do I want to, I don't know any of these guys, so why do I bother tuning in?
Yeah,
right?
and Lucci, I mean, I live, I live in the United States, and it's, it's plastic as hell. Like I see the way that they promote it on TV here. Like when World Cup games come on, the commercials that they air are, hey, it's not necessarily, Argentina play, Lionel Messi and Argentina play at 3:00, and Ronaldo and Portugal play at 2:00 today. So it's like they really promote the hell out of the players. And I can't speak for every country, but and obviously I'm a junkie. 3 years ago, I watched every World Cup game that I could see, on TV live. So I'm all about it. I'm going to watch. They could have like amateur players, and I would still watch it. But I see the way that they promote it down here, and they really promote the star players heavily.
Yeah, definitely.
I when the World Cup happened in 2018, on my lunch breaks, I would just go to random cafes and just watch. It was like Senegal versus I can't even recall, but like obviously Koulibaly was there. But I just wanted to watch soccer. I enjoy the World Cup. But at the end of the day, it's the FIFA World Cup. If they want to sanction it like that, if it comes down to that, and we're just speaking in hypothetics, but if it comes down to that, it's their tournament. They have a right to sanction it however they want to do it. And if they instate a rule that if you are a player participating in this Super League, unfortunately, it goes against the restrictions that we have. You cannot participate. Now, if like Nando said it perfectly, it puts the ball in the player's court. They have a choice to make now. It's like, do I stay with this team and just play in a Super League? Or if I actually truly, genuinely want to win an international competition, tell my owner I would like to negotiate a release, or maybe just sell me to another team. I would prefer to play for the national team. And an owner was not going to, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but I don't think an owner is going to prevent a player. Actually, they might. I'm actually going to stop myself there. I think they might. Then they might get petty, because for them, the player is an asset. The player is not a person. The player
don't tempt Agnelli, because he will prevent them.
Sure, no, exactly. And that's what just, it's unfortunate at the end of the day. It's in all sports, like we're all just assets. We're all just numbers.
You just have ADL letting Malik run on the bench for 6 months and then sell him for almost nothing.
Oh fuck! I forgot about Malik.
But do you think that if the UEFA changes the rules and like the money and everything, the structure of Champions League and Europa League, and compensate these teams on higher profit revenues or whatever it may be? Because I was listening on various podcasts and like platforms and everything that they had the chance like years ago to basically fix the structure and the format of the Champions League and to benefit these teams, and that was never the case. And it's like UEFA and FIFA are pocketing a lot of money. So can maybe UEFA have the courage, say, like parties work together to improve Champions League and Europa League, maybe like you guys said, make it one big league or whatever it may be to benefit all parties? Because a lot think that UEFA is pocketing a lot of money. So, and again, I don't know personally what the financial numbers are. I don't know what the status is. That's not my job. Like, it's not something I can really provide. But I just think that if these parties can work together and come with a solution, that might be the maybe the only end game, because it seems as if it's not the leagues that's the problem. We notice it's the actual international competition that is the issue here. So, in all respect, the teams are they're making the choice to join this league, but at the same time, should they be penalized for joining when, like, it's hard. I don't know how to put it into words, but like, should the clubs be penalized by the league when they're just joining a separate league, or like, what do you think? Like,
here's my thing. I think morally it makes sense because the idea of the unfairness it's creating is, in Italy 3 teams, England 6 teams, Spain 3 teams. The teams that are joining the Super League are just going to be at such a financial advantage, right? Mm-hmm. That morally, I can completely understand the argument of why you would want to say, we're going to draw a line in the sand and you cannot be part of this domestic competition, because the competition is no longer fair with you in it, because you're at such a different playing field. It's not a level playing field anymore. Just my thing, Jerry, and I want to ask this follow-up to you. Like, morally, it makes sense why these leagues would threaten to ban these teams. I just don't think they can afford to do it, because again, you're talking about 6 of the most important clubs in England. And I know people are going to make jokes about, hey, well, look where Arsenal are on the table and Tottenham. That's not the point. Those teams are in London. They make a ton of money. Like, I'm talking financial power, not place on the table, right? So 6 of the most important clubs in England, the 3, richest clubs historically in Italy, 3 richest clubs in Spain. Like, can these domestic leagues really afford to ban those teams? Because it's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. Like, they're hurting themselves, Jerry.
I think they're going to cut them off. I think that they're going to stand for what they believe in. I know that they might take a hit, but why would you want 3 teams that are a massive advantage? Who the fuck would want to watch Serie A anymore when you know that Inter, Milan, and Juventus are pouring in billions of dollars into their club now because of a Super League? Well, Serie A is no longer the Super League of what they were, their own Super League, but now they're the fucking joke league or whatever you want to call it. I don't see these 3 teams being part of Serie A. They have a meeting next week in Milan, face to face, so that should be interesting. I was reading about that. I personally will say that this will be their last season. If they do decide to join the Super League, they're not going to be part of Serie A. I think that these people. Remember, it's different than here. They live on tradition. Like, think about half of these owners. They're 75, 60. Like Cairo, Lotito. These guys live in the Stone Age. Okay, they don't believe in today's time. They still believe in what was built 40, 50 years ago.
That's why Serie A never gets better, because they're living in ancient times.
I agree with you. It's absolutely true. But until you cast off these people, they're all going to vote against these 3 teams being part of the league. I would say maybe most owners, and they're going to be gone. Even in the UK, you think London's going to allow these 3 teams? You think the EPL is going to allow them to stay in? No, they're going to be all gone. All 6 teams will be gone. They don't give a fuck what they can do for the league. If they don't put their foot down, they're going to look like jokes. You know what I mean? There's a notion here.
I get it.
There's a notion here. Yeah, there's money involved, but these leagues have been operating for years and years, and I think that they'll find a way to make sure that these leagues are still operating.
I agree with this comment, by the way, from Paul. I doubt UEFA is interested in what is fair or in open market conduct. It's this monopolistic monster that gave life to a Super League. Here's the thing. This is like, guys, this is like a scene in a superhero movie where, before the supervillain becomes a supervillain, this is like a great person that suffers some horrible tragedy and a supervillain is created. Let's not forget who created this supervillain. Like, I can agree that Super League, it's an idea that really is a slap in the face to the traditional football. I just think everyone needs to realize that it got to this point. Yes, it is out of greed, but I think this greed was really created by UEFA. Why don't we know how much the UEFA executives are making? I agree with something Florentino Perez said today. Everyone knows exactly to the dollar how much money LeBron James makes. No one has any clue how much money the president of UEFA is pocketing every year. Like, there is an issue here. They created this supervillain.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't think anybody who's outraged by this is defending UEFA or FIFA.
Well, there was a few people today that were defending UEFA.
I've seen it.
I saw somebody.
Like, okay, fair, fine. Some are defending UEFA and FIFA.
I saw some.
I personally am against this because it's against the whole point of sports. And I saw a comment in the chat by David about
that's an amazing. He's been hitting the nail on the head.
Mentality out of this. We're North Americans, all of us. You know, we don't necessarily agree with this change. If I can just draw a quick comparison, it's like as if the NHL is just, the original 6 teams will have our own individual league. The rest of you guys can do whatever you want. It's not right. And I'm a diehard Bruins fan. Like, that's not right at all. Just because my club is almost 100 years old, so what? It doesn't work like that. You're basically telling the other 25 teams, soon to be 26, well, you guys just don't matter. Your fan bases don't matter. And American sports, to some degree, have salary caps. So there is an even playing field. To touch upon what Donald said before, if they play in the domestic leagues and these top 3 teams, now they're getting 300 million euros, it's not fair for the other teams. Even if they share, even they're like, okay, you know what? Yeah, we're making 300 million, but we'll give each club 5 million euros or 10 million euros. It's not going to be as close to what they just earned for just existing. That's it. You're not creating any kind of parity at all because not everybody's getting an equal slice of the pie. But that's just
it's the same. It's the same in Serie A, and it's the same in NHL, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So the bigger teams that get more viewers, like the Boston Bruins or the Maple Leafs, they're getting the same amount of money as Arizona Coyotes. Like, is that really fair?
There's revenue sharing. And Arizona Coyotes have been bailed out by the league many times because of revenue sharing.
Exactly. So
and you can also look at it on the flip side because, listen, I'm a big NFL fan, and like a team like the Cincinnati Bengals have been a joke for my entire life. But there's not enough incentive for them to get better because they're making a ton of money through the TV deals and the revenue sharing. Exactly. They can never be relegated because it's the freaking NFL. They don't do that. So that's the crappy part of it, man. I mean, listen, I may be North American. It doesn't mean I love everything about North American sports leagues because it can be a pretty messed up system.
Like all I'm saying is it when you look at the teams that are bringing in more that have either high salary bills or whatever. But is it fair that they're making the same amount or have the same deal as the teams that are making the less?
Well, if they actually care about the league, I mean, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen because there's so much legislation. There's so much red tape. What's the term red tape? But like, there's never going to be like what FIFA Fair Play was trying to do, but it failed miserably. It's like creating like an equal, like a cap, like a hard cap for all teams across Europe to actually spend up until and go ahead, balance your books by yourselves. This is the most you're allowed to spend. This is the minimum you have to spend. Try to make a competitive team with that, because then at that point, if your finances are limited, you can make as much extra profits as you want with your merchandise sales, with your ticket sales, whatever. Fine, that's good for you. But at the end of the day, if you actually do care about competition, this is the space you're allowed. Build the best team possible with this space. All of a sudden, your grassroots teams or your farm systems or your developmental camps become much more important. Your scouting becomes much more important. We're lucky here that we have a draft system. Your drafting becomes much more important and much more tactical. It really promotes the growth of the game. And what this does, sure, casuals are going to go watch it, but it puts the whole game itself, the fans of the game, up in arms, and it creates conflict. I understand from a business standpoint, money talks, and you're right there, Dan. I just think that it's just completely unfair that there won't be any form of equal slice to the pie for the other teams if you truly care about these other teams in the league.
Right, and on that note,
what about this idea? Sorry, Alex.
Go ahead.
What if the rest of the teams, say the Lazios, the Napolis, the Ajaxes, the rest of these secondary European clubs form their own Super League?
Now that I like. Fuck UEFA. Just I want everybody to leave the shackles of corrupt UEFA and FIFA. I would love everybody to do their own thing.
You know what? Like, let's do it by tier. Like, I think we just solved the fucking issue. Mind you, some of the teams.
Tito is the leader of the new league.
Yeah, so like
I'll
you
take
got
it.
you got Napoli,
We're
Roma,
on ADL.
Napoli,
New
Roma,
World Order.
Atalanta, and Lazio form a super league with the other teams. You know, it's gonna be like a secondary team, mind you. Arsenal, Milan, and Tottenham shouldn't be in the top tier, but anyway, so New World Order. You love my shots at Milan, eh, Alex? You love it.
Oh, I love it too.
One more shittier than the other. Fuck's sakes.
Yeah, yeah. Like imagine even like the fucking relegation teams formed their own super league. Like I don't know, with I don't know, with the Nantes and the Crotone teams of the world. You know what I mean? I don't know who the fuck is last in Spain. I don't even know, man. Like, anyways,
That's exactly right. David hit it on the nail there. Like he hit a bullseye. Like these owners they don't own the team for tradition. They own it for a business reason.
Right, of course.
And don't get me wrong, it's all about business. Absolutely. Like who doesn't want to make money? But at the same time, you want to not forget the roots of where that club came from. I think tradition is so much different in Europe than it is in North America. Like, yeah, when we talk about hockey here, Boston and Montreal, I don't think there's a history, but I found that the history is much stronger when it comes to like sports out in Europe with football. When I went to watch a game a couple of years ago, I went to watch Chelsea versus Southampton. And if it wasn't for this game, seriously, I would never be talking to you guys right now. I would give two shits about football. Seriously.
You're doing a hockey pod.
Oh, I'll be doing a hockey pod for sure. Because I live in Canada. That's what I grew up with. The guy's Lucci. Like, that's all we care about here is hockey. Like, the Raptors only became on the map because they won 2 years ago. Or else they'd probably be non-existent probably right now.
What about the Vince Carter years?
That's actually true.
Dude, I was into that. I love Vince Carter.
Vince Carter was a goal. But still, when I went to St. Mary's Park, and just the feel when I went to the actual stadium, okay, walking down and I see everyone like with their scarves on and like basically just there's like a tradition on Sundays where that is where they need to be. It's ritual. So when I got to the park, I get into the actual stadium. What was cool was that the away visitors, like when you're the visitor, you're in a separate like part of the building where you are with your fans and you're closed off. Like the home fans can't like interact with the visitors, which was pretty cool because when you walk in, it's everyone just drinking. And what was really special was that the fans were singing their chants together. And these songs, like the chants is what really was symbolic to me because there's significant words to their songs, like Frankie Lampard and what he did in the past, and maybe Mourinho and whatever it may be. We fly high and all these things. And then when I went to the crowd, I'd never seen such passionate fans rooting for their team nonstop for 90 minutes. Like, it was amazing when they were winning 3-0 and they were like taunting Southampton as they were leaving, and they had these songs that like heckled them and everything. Like, when you go watch a Leaf game, it is no offense to most Leaf fans, it's a disgrace because 80%, no offense, that 80% of the stadium, okay, or the arena are business suits, and 20% is freaking actual real fans.
Dude, it's like that at Miami Heat games. Like
It's
people,
sad.
it's like people who make millions of dollars are there to go clubbing after the game.
Yeah, and the true passionate Leaf fans are awesome because I've been heckled by them at games, and they come up to you after the game and like, hey, you're a true sportsmanship. Like, you're awesome. You understand banter, but that's just the way the game is. But like, I remember I watched a Leaf Oilers game 2 years ago. You can hear crickets. If there were crickets in the arena for how quiet. It was a 1-0 game, and it was quiet. Like, people were trying to figure out if there was a hockey game going on. You don't hear no fans, nothing. And when you go to Europe, it's I even watched 2 games in Sweden, and it was amazing. Another experience I was able to like watch and like just to see the fans want to be there. There's a history to being there. I think that's what really brought me back to the game, because for so many years, not being able to watch you here, not having TV rights, TV deals, Lucci can probably vouch for that. TLN lost the rights for X amount of years. I didn't even know DAZN existed seriously until like 2 years ago. Didn't know DAZN. Like, sorry, DAZN DAZN didn't
Neither
exist.
did I until you let me use your password.
Yeah. See?
Has everyone bummed some of the zone here once in their life? I have. Like I think
Yeah.
I think at one point I had like 5 people bumming off my DAZN. I'm like, okay, guys.
If Francesco's still in the chat, I bum off his DAZN sometimes if I have no appointments at work.
Dude,
so
I've given like because down here for Serie A in the States we have ESPN Plus. Dude, I've been very friendly and shared my password with a few people. Dude, this one buddy of mine stayed logged in on my password, and he like changed all the settings because you can like on ESPN you select your favorite teams, and this guy like if you think Gianni is bad supporting 2 clubs, my friend Manny supports like 12 clubs around the world, so he set like all of his favorite teams or like fucking Real Madrid and Bayern, and he set all these teams. Like, bro, come on, man,
He's a glory hunter,
you were logged in on my password.
He's a glory hunter, basically.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I'm really liking what David Lonhall. Sorry if
He's a Lazio fan.
Sorry,
Lazio David.
He's a smart guy.
He is. Yeah, this guy's hitting the nail on the head with every fucking comment. I love this guy. Follow me on Twitter, Dave. Like, I like connecting with Lazio fans, unless you already do under some alias. But anyway,
He's a Lazio fan.
I just want to touch on the tradition. I was just, if you're somebody like perusing my phone, like I was just looking at the old Serie A owners, like these old dinosaurs we were talking about before, like the Cragnotis of the Lazio, like just on the pitch with their players, posing with their. I saw so many pictures of Cragnotti with Conceição, Nesta, that piece of shit Nedved when he played for Lazio. Then you even look at Sensi from Roma, like always with Totti. Like I know it's my enemy, but it's still like a romantic. There's that romantic feeling between these old owners who actually, you can't say respected the fan, and love their team. Even Moratti, you see him with Zanetti posing pictures. Andrea Gianni Agnelli with Del Piero, like an iconic picture, you know. But anyways, it's just.
I guarantee you. By the way, I don't know if Moratti has commented on this publicly, but I guarantee you he hates it. Like I'm going to look to see if he has spoken about it, but I'm sure he's going to bash it if he has.
Didn't Zanetti speak out against it? Apparently, Gazzetto dello Sport, or La Gazzetta, sorry, released a comment or something from Zanetti saying that.
Really?
That's what
maybe.
No, I believe it. I haven't seen it yet, but it wouldn't surprise me.
It makes sense. He's a former player.
Yeah, of course.
Like if you're a player, obviously you're not for this. But
you don't see any of these new fucking owners going on the field like hugging and embracing the players like fans.
Yeah.
Like De Laurentiis. I gave it to him. De Laurentiis is cool. He's old school.
Yeah. You got to win some trophies to go hug your players. So just look at it.
Hey, last summer, man. Last summer. That's all I'm saying.
I'm pretty sure Latito hugged with his players.
Yeah, he's not Cragnotti, Jerry. Cragnotti is like we were talking about today. He has a special place in all Laziale's hearts, but still, you don't see Zhang hugging the players.
No, that's
he's rarely even there.
Who the fuck even owns Milan? Is it like an American company?
Oh yeah, the Elliott Fund. Elliott Singer or whatever. So something Singer. I don't know. I don't know how.
The thing about Milan, it's like at least Maldini is running it. At least they have some sort of. We'll use Milan's favorite word, DNA, in the club, right? And Juve, well.
Agnelli shows up to most of the games.
He's not the Gianni
he's there
Agnelli.
almost every game.
But he's not the Gianni Agnelli.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. Gianni Agnelli was a real like visionary. Like
but he was also a hard businessman.
Yeah,
right.
He was, but he had more morals than his grandson. I think.
I think.
Way more morals than his grandson. You know.
Hey, I want to get into something. I think Nando was about to bring this up earlier.
You know what's funny though? The guy from UEFA who called out Agnelli, that he's related to the family. Apparently, he's the godfather of one of their kids or something like that.
I didn't know that.
Something like that along the lines. He's a godfather, like of their actual like family member. So it was pretty interesting that he called out Agnelli. I forgot who it was. One of the guy who runs UEFA. I don't know his fucking name off by heart, but Ceferini. Yeah, I'd say he's got like some relationship with Agnelli's family, like godfather or something. But it was pretty interesting that he was able to go that line. But yeah.
So I want to get into it. I thought Nando may have been bringing this up a little bit earlier on. Now, again, I'm honestly, I'm not expecting these players to be banned from international tournaments. I don't think it's going to get to that point. But hypothetically, if it did, Nando, I'll start with you. How do you think Italy's Euro squad would do? Because it seems to me like their squad would be more intact than France or Belgium. I mean, you would obviously you'd be without Donnarumma, you'd be without Bonucci, you would be without Bastoni, Barella, Chiesa. But I don't know if I'm leaving anybody out, but pretty much the rest of the squad would be intact. What do you think?
So we're missing Jorginho.
Oh, Jorginho also.
Yeah. Emerson, but fuck that guy. Bonucci, fuck him too. Chiellini, fuck him too.
Bastoni.
Bastoni is a big loss. Bastoni and Barella are big losses.
Romagnoli, potentially. Well, Romagnoli, obviously.
Whatever. He's inconsequential at this point. But I mean, we've been missing a few players. But I mean, overall, our starting lineup would be okay. Like,
who all right.
Spinazzola.
We still got Immobile. Fuck
yeah, of course. We have the current golden boot.
So you won't score any goals.
Lazio and Napoli fans all shaking hands because their players.
I mean, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go the very lineup off the top of my head. I guess for keeper we'd have who's the number 2 these days? Is it Mere?
It's give it to Cranio, no?
I give it to Cranio.
Cranio, absolutely. Cranio left back. Left back with Spinazzola, center back Acerbi, and I guess Mancini.
Yeah, you're a little rough back there.
Yeah.
Right back, I'd give it to Acerbi's fine. Right back, I'd give it to Florenzi or Lazzari, one of the two, or even Di Lorenzo. We're good at right back. Regista, that's a tough one. Verratti, Locatelli, Verratti, and who else?
You're naming the lineup I put on Twitter.
No, you put it Zaniolo. Zaniolo's dead. Maybe
he's not dead.
He's not coming back anytime soon.
He is dead this year. He is.
I don't know.
He's not coming back.
An attack, we'd have Insigne, Immobile, Berardi.
Yeah, it's pretty.
The attack is pretty good.
Actually, never mind.
Or even Kean, Moise. What is it? Keane.
Yeah.
Keane will probably.
How do you pronounce it? Is it Kean?
I think it's Kane, isn't it?
I think it's just Keen.
Yeah.
Moise Keane.
Moise Kean. Yeah, but he's good.
Moise Schkeef.
I don't know. I think we'd be okay.
Moise Schkeef.
Oh no.
I think we'd be good. I think
I don't know,
okay.
man.
I think we would too.
I think the guy. Seeing that whole squad, the guy who I'm most intrigued about is Berardi. Seriously, because this guy has been at Sassuolo for how many years now, and everybody says he should have left. He should have left. He's underachieving in his career, or whatever you want to say. Like he should be doing more in his career for how good he is. Should be at a bigger club. All that shit.
He should.
You should. Honestly.
You know what? Maybe he should, but at the end of the day, I respect his decision. If he feels comfortable playing with Sassuolo and being with a middle table club or whatever the decision is, I respect it because that's his decision at the end of the day.
Just can't handle the pressure of being on a big team.
Hey, you know what? If he can't, I respect that too because at least he's not putting him in a situation that will ruin his reputation, his career, or whatever it may be, right?
I want to jump on that, Jerry, for a second. Sorry for interrupting you. Does anybody remember Marco Sau from Cagliari a few years ago?
Yeah.
Marco Sau. I love this player. Like, he was such a fleet-footed player. He scored a beautiful goal against Lazio this week. And I'm like, that is an old school name. And he stayed at Cagliari way past his expiry date. And he ended up being a Serie B player for a while.
Yeah.
Berardi is obviously a more complete player. I don't know if he's more talented, but this is what happens when you stay in one of these provinciale teams too long. Like, you kind of fade away.
You got to challenge yourself.
And Berardi is going to be 28 this year, 27, 28. I mean, he's not young, but he's not old. But let's be honest, the clock is ticking. Same thing with Belotti. This is the year these two players need to leave these clubs, or they risk being not a Marco Sau. That's a very extreme case, but they risk being
average.
I'd say they're both above average. I'm not really a fan of Belotti in general, but I do acknowledge that He's good at what he does.
He's got the
I
jersey.
like him. I like
Lucci
him.
has the jersey. It's
You
great.
know what it is? I'm a bit biased. I just don't really like the Twitter crowd that really advocates Belotti starting over Immobile, and they're talking about a guy who scores 15 goals a year versus a guy who scores 20. Put your hand down there, muscle man. Stop flexing.
You know what, man? If I do agree with what you're saying, Nando, but I also support when Lucci goes against Immobile, and it's fair.
He's become meme tier for Liazzurri. He's become meme tier. Let's be honest here.
Like
I don't care who it is. I just want someone to fucking score.
That's where I want to get it. That's what I want to get. And that's
I don't care if it's
that's
a
where
guy
I will side with Lucci, and then the stats prove itself that Immobile has never shown up when we need him the most, and it's true. He's absolutely right, but at the same time, Belotti hasn't been much better than Immobile either.
Absolutely not. But I think this has to do with formation. In all honesty, both these clubs
to shine.
But at the end of the day,
both these clubs play with a 2-man attack.
Yeah.
So
Jerry and I had spoken about this before too.
we talked about this, but at the end of the day, Lucci's right. Whoever formation, whatever it may be, you got to put that out the door. And I do agree with you. It does hinder them. It does. It doesn't help them. But when you go to the game, you got to figure something out.
Well, that's up to the coach.
Coach and player, they have to be on the same page. And if Immobile is not speaking up how he feels, maybe it's not working for him in practice, then that's something on him too. And if it's not the manager who's acknowledging and recognizing that this doesn't work for him either, it's on him as well. But I do agree with Lucci that whoever the hot hand is, you go with it. I want to see Immobile succeed. I'm one of the biggest Immobile fans probably on Twitter.
Is he being put in the right situation to succeed on Liazzurri? That's what I'm asking you. Let's think back.
It's true.
Let's think back. Like Germany, 2014 World Cup. Literally an all-star team. Every position had a legend. But up top, they had Miroslav Klose. Love him, Lazio legend. But let's be honest, that system was tailor-made for him to score. Because you need a guy to score in a World Cup. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, same thing with, mind you, Giroud didn't really score for France.
Yeah, I was about to say, like in France when they won in 2018, Giroud did nothing for them.
But those players
he didn't play much even.
No, he played every game. He didn't score a goal.
Like he basically just sucked up the defense, like that the wingers can do.
But again, like that system was tailor made for him, and he did his job right. So like he did what he's good at, doing, holding the ball and making Mbappe, Griezmann, and all these like other superstars play really well. Mm-hmm. Granted, he didn't score, but that system was tailor made for him to succeed in. Spain World Cup 2010, you had David Villa and Fernando Torres, like. Again, tailor-made. Well, mind you, that was a replication of Barca's tiki-taka, but again, tailor-made for those players, right? So, in my opinion, Ciro is not really being put in a situation where he can succeed to his maximum potential with the national team. Like, I'm not disavowing his failures or his misses. Like, a lot of the strategies he should do better, but let's be honest here. Like, overall, it's not really tailor-made for him. I'm not saying the team should change its dynamic or its DNA, but at least if you're going to play with him as your striker, at least have like a slight variation, have like a nuance of that system. If you want to play a 3-man mid and a 4-man backline, play a 4-3-1-2 or 4-4-2, whatever you want.
I don't disagree with you, Nando, but the problem is your best players are your wingers. You got Insigne, you got Chiesa, you got Berardi. If you're playing a 4-3-1-2 or 4-3-2-1, whatever it is, they're not
those
playing.
Players, they played in the 2-man attack before. Insigne was playing Seconda Punta under Ancelotti's.
Look how well they did. That's not his best position. He's better cutting in off the wing.
Bad. Berardi played in a 2-man attack, I think, next to Ciccio Caputo a few times. Don't quote me on that, but I think he did.
I'm not sure about that one.
But he's played that position in the past. That's what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying, but the problem is you want to have as many players as you can in their natural positions. That's how they're going to succeed because they're familiar with those spots, right? Mm-hmm. You need, Berardi or Insigne, Chiesa, whatever. They like cutting in off the wings and creating something like that. I do agree that both Belotti and Immobile would be better in a 2-man front. If that's something Mancini would try, I wouldn't see why, give it a shot and see how it goes. But then again, you're missing out on your wingers, on your fast guys.
I was just thinking, we don't even have a fucking real attacking mid that played a 4-3-1-2. When's the last time Italy produced a trequartista that's like?
You could play Insigne there.
No, he's not. I don't know. I can't see him play there. Like I'd say maybe
flexible. He's good in the
Castrovilli,
middle.
Ferrati. Like I don't know.
That's
Like
Ravili, maybe.
Castrovilli, but even him,
I can
he
see that.
leave that shithole of Fiorentina. Like,
I want to
Yeah.
I want to answer
He's
Paul
dying there,
Gulo's.
man.
I actually want to answer Paul Gulo's question because I was going to get to that, and I do believe Berardi can reach heights with this team because he's finally going to play with good players around him, like you guys were saying. That I think this is the chance where he will prove that he could play at a higher level because now he's surrounded by good talent. And watching,
Italy?
yeah, I actually do.
I don't
think
know
that,
about that.
I absolutely think that he is going to put his game to the next level because he's going to push himself playing with the best players. I really do believe that. And with Sassuolo, I think that he does push himself high, but now he's going to push himself even more playing with Italy. I just got that feeling. I don't know why. I think this guy has a lot of talent, and in credit, at least this team hasn't. At least Sassuolo hasn't ruined Berardi. Okay, like
No.
Fiorentina ruins
Yeah.
players. So remember that too. Fiorentina ruins players. Chiesa was ruined. Luckily, credit to Juventus. They brought him back to life. I think if there's one thing that Pirlo deserves credit is that he's managed to bring Chiesa back to a higher level and get the best out of him. So as much as Pirlo's been shit on this year, I think he does deserve credit for what he's been able to do with Federico Chiesa, and he's been phenomenal. Like that's one thing that people don't acknowledge. So I do believe that Berardi he wasn't ruined, and Belotti as well. Like Torino has been bad, but fortunately he hasn't been bad. And I think of the two players that need to leave their respective club first has to be Belotti. I think that if Berardi decides to leave Sassuolo, it's not a dying club like Torino or Fiorentina. I think Sassuolo still has an identity, an idea of what's going forward. They have a manager that kind of has half a brain. So,
fuck this Zerbi, man.
I don't like him either. I don't like him either.
Honestly, John, I'm looking at their roster. Let's be honest.
I don't like him either, but he's not as bad as the other coaches that have gone to Torino or Fiorentina. Let's be honest.
You don't like Mancini? I'm surprised.
Fucking baseball
cat.
You just gotta be open minded about it. That's all. Like you can't be biased. Like you can't. I know that we maybe don't like De Zerbi, but at least he didn't ruin Locatelli. At least he didn't ruin all these players.
But Sassuolo actually has a decent team.
They really do. Like,
you're right.
They should be doing better than they are. To be quite honest.
Berardi, Locatelli, Caputo, Boga, Gianmarco Ferrari.
Or maybe he's been there too long.
But that's his choice.
But like he was there from City SC, like he helped Sassuolo get from the third division to the first division.
But he was also owned by Juve for a short period, and then they sold him back to Sassuolo.
He never played a game for Juve.
No, he didn't. But he was owned because he never wanted to make the switch. They figured he wasn't good enough. So he could be a late bloomer, like we've seen before. That's fine. But if he wants to make a jump, he's got to do it now. He can't keep waiting till he's 30 or whatever.
Yeah, I suppose, but Di Natale is like a very rare type of player. Let's be honest here. Di Natale was, I'll say, before 2010 or 2009, the season he broke out. Like Di Natale, he was always talented, but he never really, he never really took a hot, steamy shit on the league like he did for all those years. You know what I mean? Sorry, excuse my language, but like what he did, like, mind you, when who was it? Guidolin. He instituted an amazing system. It was Sanchez. It was Di Natale. It was I think was even Gaetano D'Agostino pulling the strings in the mid at one point. Remember him? And they had a great team, and they were fantastic. And they just built a team around Di Natale. But it's rare. It's really rare. Let's be honest here. Like Di Natale is like 1 in a million. Like to blow up at 30 years old. Even probably later. I think it was 31.
Yeah, I think he was past 30. I got to wrap it up here, guys, in a couple minutes on that note. It's been a really amazing discussion. I would encourage anybody who hopped in the live stream a little bit late. We've been on for about the last hour and 20 minutes. So if you missed anything, you can watch a replay on YouTube. Basically, as soon as we're done with this thing, the replay is going to magically appear. We're also going to have this posted on the audio platforms tomorrow. So if you listen during your commute or on your headphones, you can listen to audio only on all the podcasting platforms. We had a really in-depth discussion on the European Super League, the reaction to it. I was going to say why some of us like it, but I don't know if any of us really like it. Why we either don't like it or why we hate it, and why I'm not surprised that it's coming together. So a huge thanks to everyone who joined us. I'll allow everybody here to shout out anything you have going on. Gianni, we always appreciate you, and of course you represent the Calcio guys. We're going to bring the whole crew in for a future show. But you've joined us a couple times in the last couple of weeks, and we appreciate it, man. Do you have anything to shout out? Let us know how people can find the Calcio guys.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested in my podcast, first of all, thank you guys for allowing me to be on. I appreciate it, and I enjoy coming on. It's great to have discussions like this. It's like around the horn, but anyways, that's the show, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you're lucky I'm not muting any of you fucks.
Yeah. But you can find the podcast that I'm on at the Calcio guys on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And if you want to follow myself, you can follow me at Gianni Rules 27, GIANNIRULD 27. But mind you, my personal Twitter is really my personal stuff. So you might see random stuff of me joking around or having fun with things or even being random. So, I'm always down to discuss soccer. So, yep, if you want to give us a follow or give me a follow, that's where you can find me.
Yeah, you guys should. Nando, you've joined us a couple times in recent memory as well. We always appreciate you, man. Do you have anything to plug?
Just love these chats. I'm like becoming part of the furniture at this point. Not much. You can find me here at Nando Magnus. That's where you can find me on Twitter. Just tweet random stuff, Lazio, soccer in general. I've lately been tweeting a lot about Sevilla, the city, randomly enough. But
oh, nice.
I love it there. Yeah, honestly, really enjoyed today, guys. It was fantastic. Love these giant Calcio forums. So
I love it, man. And of course, Daniel Lucci is part of the family as well. Even though he's a Juventino, we still love him. Anything Luch to promote?
Yeah, I should have some articles coming out hopefully soon. Not gloomy days at Juve, but we'll try to clear some things up. And yeah, you can follow me.
By the way, you're fucking lucky that this Super League thing happened, and we're not talking about you losing to Atalanta.
Tell me about it. A lot of people forgot about what happened yesterday, so we'll just leave it at that. And I think short-term memory is probably best.
Poetic justice, that game.
I haven't forgotten about the loss to Benevento.
We all know that the Super League was to help Juventus through one bad period. These fucking losers.
That's why Agnelli planned the announcement for when he did.
We're
going to lose the game. We're announcing Super League tonight.
Fucking little bitch.
Jerry, what about you, man? You gonna bathe in Nutella after the show? You're always writing articles. Let people know where they can find you.
You can find me at Super League. I'm in. I am the I'm at Super League admin, and I am the new administrator of this shit league. I plan to take it down. That's what I plan to do.
Oh, he's a spy.
J Mancini hate, and yeah, I got articles. You know, I got so many articles I can't even keep up anymore. I can.
Did you guys? Sorry for that. Did you see what Perez just said a few hours ago? He goes, he goes, if young people find football matches too long, it may be because they are not interesting enough, or maybe we might have to make football matches shorter.
It's the most asinine thing. Are we going to start doing 75-minute matches now? Like, what the hell's going on?
I'm fucking done with this guy. Like, go to hell, you stupid fucking.
And he and Agnelli have the same talking points, because Agnelli said something. I think he spoke earlier today. He said something about how like they had this data that like people from 24 years old and under aren't watching football anymore, and it's like, okay, well, where does that data come from? And then Perez said the same thing. Florentino Perez said the same thing, that they have research that people under 24 aren't watching football anymore. So, I don't know, man. I don't know, but
good riddance. Good riddance.
Yeah, I thank everyone for tuning in, and like I said,
Paul, appreciate
if
that.
you missed, Paul, everybody in the chat, David, Paul, Michael. Yeah,
I think Michael follows me on Twitter. I'm not sure. Pretty sure.
Well, everybody should, man. Follow Jerry at J Mancini.
Hey, I'm actually gonna start a Super League fucking Twitter account. I'm
gonna join that, just like my team joined the Super League.
Fuck, man! I think I have a blast just ripping on them.
So and make sure, guys, if you like what you saw and you like what you listened to, check us out on Patreon. Some exclusive content there. We love to see and hear from you guys there as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Alex Donno. Donno spelled Donno. You can follow our show at Calcio Con Pod. So follow us on Twitter. And we follow back everybody.
Fuck the Super League. Fuck the Super League.
If you follow our show Twitter, we follow everybody back. So help spread the word of the Calcio Connection. We'll talk to you guys next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.
Fuck the Super League.